$100 a month doesn't look like a wealth plan. It looks like dinner and a movie, a couple of ride shares, or the difference between a normal grocery cart and a slightly fancier one. That's the problem. We judge small numbers by what they can buy today instead of what they can become tomorrow. And because of that, we dismiss them. We postpone them, and we let months slide by while we wait for a mythical version of ourselves who earns more, thinks clearer, and somehow has the discipline we don't have right now. I want to talk to the real you, the one who feels pulled in a dozen directions and still cares about building a future that isn't just survival. I want to show you how one tiny lever, set once and allowed to run, becomes a quiet engine that changes the slope of your life. And I want you to feel that shift in your chest. Not because I gave you a motivational speech, but because the math and the method are both simple enough to trust on a Monday night when you're tired. The first mental knot to untie is this: small contributions are not about the size of the first dollar. They are about the number of times that dollar multiplies. Time is the amplifier. When you say $100, your brain thinks groceries. Compound interest hears opportunity. When you say it won't matter, the calendar smirks, because 30 years from now, at a modest return, the difference between a life that quietly shoveled $100 a month into broad market funds and a life that didn't is measured not in dinners skipped, but in choices gained. The second knot is the myth that you require perfect timing or a perfect market to start. You don't. What you require is a system you can keep even when work is loud and life is messy. If you can do this on your worst week, you'll do it on your best week without even thinking. Here's the framing I want you to carry as we move. $100 a month is not the destination, it's the on-ramp. It is a vote you cast for your future self that says, I show up, I contribute, and over time, I increase. We'll do this with a tool I call the $100 ladder. A ladder has rungs you can actually step on. You begin with $100 per month. Every 6 months, you raise that by $25. Not because you're a superhero, but because incomes tend to drift up. Expenses can be replaced more intelligently, and habits get lighter with practice. I'll give you the exact schedule. What I need from you is to stop treating money like a debate you must win each pay period. We are going to pre-decide once, automate once, and measure in years, not in days. Let's talk about why time beats intensity. Imagine two people who both end up investing the same total amount. One waits until life is perfect and then throws big chunks later. The other sets $100 today and never stops. The calendar quietly favors consistency because the early dollars have more birthdays. They get to multiply for longer. And in finance, age confers power. You've probably seen compound interest charts. You've probably nodded and scrolled past. I want you to sit in the feeling that your small transfer on Friday can be the ancestor of something you will one day call freedom. That childlike thought of a seed becoming a tree is not poetry here. It is arithmetic that doesn't care whether you believe in it yet. Now let's build the structure you'll actually use. The first question is where the money goes. If you have access to a 401k with a match, that match is your first stop because it is free money with guardrails. If you are eligible for a Roth IRA, it is a beautiful container for long-term compounding because gains can come out tax-free in retirement. If you're already covering those or need flexibility, a plain brokerage account is the most flexible on and off ramp. The order matters less than the fact that contributions happen automatically, on a schedule that is welded to your paycheck or your monthly income cycle. If you are choosing between a 401k with no match and a Roth you qualify for, consider the tax benefits and your need for access. If you are choosing between a Roth and a brokerage because your income fluctuates, remember that your first purpose here is habit formation that persists. We are going to pick the instrument that you won't abandon when your week gets complicated. Inside the account, we will keep it shockingly simple. Most people do not need a complex portfolio to win. A broad US total market or S&P 500 index fund is the backbone because you are buying the economy's long-term growth instead of gambling on hot tips. To dampen the ride and align with your comfort, we add a bond fund slice so you don't feel like you're strapped to a roller coaster every time a headline screams. Simplicity is not laziness here, it is adherence. If you can stick with 80 to 90% in a broad equity index and the rest in bonds, rebalanced annually with one click, you will outrun most of the people who flinch in and out of positions because a stranger on the internet told them to. This is a plan you can explain to a friend in one sentence, and that is a feature, not a bug. Let's shape the $100 ladder together. If you're leaving a match on the table is stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. If you don't have a workplace plan, the Roth can be your home base if you qualify. Set the monthly transfer to the amount you need to hit your annual target divided by 12, and adjust each 6 months with the ladder step. If your income disqualifies you from direct Roth contributions, you can explore backdoor options. But do not let complexity stop your habit. A brokerage account investing in a low-cost index fund is a perfectly fine wealth engine. Complexity is the enemy of consistency. The perfect plan you abandon is worse than the simple plan you keep. I want to talk about the story we tell ourselves when we're behind. If you're 35 or 45 and the idea of starting at $100 feels like a joke, I hear you. The ladder respects your reality because it grows. You can start at 100 this month and be at 200, then 300, then 500. Not because a miracle happened, but because you replaced, you negotiated, you added a small side income, and you escalated on schedule. When people say they can't save, what they often mean is they can't save without pain. I want you to prove to yourself that saving can begin without pain. And then if you want to accelerate, you'll choose temporary discomfort with conviction rather than resentment. Comment, "I'm starting at $100" if you're willing to be that person. And I'll reply with the exact step-up schedule and a 2-minute walkthrough of the account setup so you don't stall. Let me give you a lived-in example. A viewer wrote me last year to say that she started with $100 because it was all she believed she could do. She worked in healthcare, unpredictable shifts, and a brain that told her she would never be good with money. She set the transfer anyway. 6 months later, she bumped to $125. She ran a quick subscription audit and found $43 of noise. That paid for the next rung. At month 18, she was at $150, and a small raise became her chance to push to $175 without feeling it. By month 24, she was at $225 a month, and the account had momentum. She didn't win the lottery. She just stopped debating herself. 2 months ago, she messaged again to say the dividends bought more shares than her first transfer used to. That is a sentence you deserve to write. There will be seasons when markets fall and the world feels shaky. Your ladder is not a mood, it is a mechanism. In down markets, you are buying more shares for the same dollars. Which is the least sexy sentence in finance and the most powerful for long-term results. Your job is to be the person who keeps showing up. The automation makes that easier than you expect because it removes the daily vote. If you need a psychological trick, do this. When the headlines turn red, don't check your balance. Check your streak. The only number you control is the number of months you contributed. That number is your pride, and in the end, it becomes your outcome. Let's pull all of this into a single evening. After this video, open or log into the account you chose. Name a recurring transfer for the day after each paycheck, or for the same calendar day each month, and set it to $100. Then open a reminder on your phone for 6 months from now titled Ladder Step $25, and copy that reminder out for the next 2 years. Inside the account, choose a broad, low-cost index fund and add a small bond fund slice if needed for comfort. Then click the Auto Invest feature so your contribution buys those funds the same day it lands. Finally, do a 15-minute replacement pass on your expenses. One cancellation, one downgrade, one switch. Those 3 moves might fund your first increase immediately. If you want my spreadsheet that models 7 and 9% over 30 years and shows your step-ups month by month, comment $100 ladder and I'll drop the link with a quick tutorial. I want to leave you with a mindset shift that quietly changes the way you see yourself. People think of investing as an identity you earn after you hit a certain income. That's backwards. You become an investor the day you set the transfer and let it run. You don't need a title, you need a habit. A habit doesn't care if you are an artist, a nurse, a project manager, or a barista. It cares if you made one small decision easier than one bad decision and you repeated it. If you've ever felt like money was a subject that belonged to other people, I want you to feel how democratic this is. Compounding doesn't ask for your resume. It asks for your patience. If this spoke to you, share it with one person who keeps saying they'll start when they have more. Tell them to steal your ladder and start with you. I would love to hear in the comments which account you're using, how you funded your first rung, and what date your next step up is scheduled for. I read these, I reply, and I want the next 1,000 people to see your example and realize that the path is quiet and repeatable. If you want more videos that cut through the noise with calm, clear steps, subscribe to Richie Returns and hit the bell so the next rung shows up on your screen, the same way your transfer shows up in your account. You don't need perfection to build 6 figures. You need $100, a calendar, and a promise to keep going.